Welcome to April's Garage. Mercedes is becoming my new best friend because they're coming out with a Baby G-Wagon.
He's very cute.
I'm so excited.
But the bigger headline is Mercedes building cars that people want.
Right.
And discontinuing cars that people do not want. And other automakers could follow suit. Why is it so hard to do so? So, yeah, but first the Baby G-Wagon.
Which I feel like is easy to do now because of social media. You can see how everyone comments on things and see what they really want. Where back in the day, like, you just sat in a boardroom of like 5 guys in suits and they're like, oh, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, the whole climate is different where you can actually see what people want, and Mercedes is finally listening.
Well, their blobby crossovers and SUVs are there's a huge lineup. There's GLA, B, C, D, E, F to D, O, double G.
Other language.
You know, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's ridiculous.
I love you. It was fantastic.
What?
But this Baby G-Wagon.
It needs to exist. The existing G-Wagon is way too expensive, and it's a pretty big honking thing, but people like that blocky look.
It's blocky, and like, I don't want to say the word clunky because Mercedes are not, but like, it has that Jeep feel when you're driving it, where I feel like a Baby G-Wagon is going to be sexy and cool and much needed. Is it going to be a chick car though? Because it's like the Bronco Sport, the Baby Bronco, similar thing.
What I'm concerned with is they don't make it, you know, rugged. They kind of do like the Ford Bronco and the Baby Bronco. Not to keep knocking the Baby Bronco that you had, but there's a big difference in the off-road cred of a full-size Bronco versus Baby Bronco. Even though they look kind of the same, it is not the same. So if they do, unibody 3 cylinders of Fury and you know, and some chintzy, cheapy, you know, things. Not that the G-Wagon's with unibody too. It's much beefier, you know, solid axles on the older ones. Anyway, I'm such a dinosaur that I don't even know what the new G-Wagon looks like, honestly. So,
well, this is a rendering of it that Mercedes put out, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, it looks like it's going to be electric. I don't know if they've confirmed that yet, but it's going to be electric, which does that make it more of a chick car too? Because it doesn't have a beefy internal combustion engine.
I feel like the only electric car from Mercedes that people want to buy is the electric G-Wagon because it's expensive and cool, but at the same time it does cool things like the spinny thing. Have you seen it where it does the 0-point turn?
It seriously does that?
It can do this.
Like a crab walk version of it?
A dealership made a video of their G-Wagon electric doing that, and then they had 2 Maybach GLSs going bouncing at the same time.
That's great.
To music. It was really cool. But people want that. They want the existing properties from Mercedes. They don't want to pay 150 grand for the EQE, the EQS, the futuristic looking swoopy ones, and that's what they're completely changing course on that. From what I read, EQ is dead. The whole brand of EQ, no, we're doing back to S-Class, E-Class, C-Class, and there can be hybrids and there can be electric variants of that. But the expensive EQs, nobody wanted them. They couldn't sell them.
Right. Well, they are scaling back. Mercedes previously said they're going to be all electric by 2030, and now there's a big change because obviously the EV market isn't selling like they thought. Nobody wants it. What do you think a Baby G-Wagon should start at, like MSRP?
$59,999,
so
but it won't.
Does that bring down the value in people's eyes because it's not $100,000? Do people look at it and think, oh, it's cheap and I don't want it? Should Mercedes offer it at that $100,000 price point?
I don't think so. Baby G, you could. It just depends. It really does depend. But they had the GLK that I really liked. The first and second generation of that was pretty neat. They made a diesel version of it that I wanted at one point. A GLK K250 Blue Tech 4MATIC, a very long name. But the big downfall at the time, over 10 years ago, they took out the spare tire to put in the diesel exhaust fluid tank. So it's like an SUV with no spare. I thought that was the stupidest thing at the time. But now everybody's not putting a spare in their cars, so it was like they were predicting the future with that.
Yeah, well, speaking of long names, what does the G in G-Wagon stand for? I feel like you would know this.
Geländewagen.
What does that mean?
It's German for Geländewagen.
That's great. What do you think of the rendering?
It looks like a G. That's the thing. I can't even tell.
Is that Seattle in the back? Like futuristic spaceships
space
landed?
in the future. Exactly.
There's like Epcot Center back there too.
Well, so Mercedes is my favorite brand by far. My first car, still have it in my grandmother's 500 SL. And Bruno Sacco, who recently passed away, he believed in this brand conformity that Mercedes is going back to, where all the cars sort of have this conformity where they're all sort of similar. You go from, back then it would have been the 190E, then the 300 class, the 300E, and then you had the S-Class. And they sort of continued that, the SLK, the SL, the G was in the U.S., but
so much
the ML, it was all like a brand conformity. And now they're playing like whack-a-mole with the EQ thing and the this and the... It's too confusing. They just need to stick to, sort of a core, like, okay, we have 3 sizes of SUVs, you have 3 sizes of cars.
Right.
You have the big G-Wagon, the baby G-Wagon, we have some sports cars. Not like, it was too much,
right.
Obviously too much.
So you're a designer, you're in charge of the Baby G-Wagon.
Yes.
What are the specs? Like, what do you want it to be able to be capable of for it to be successful?
I want it to be on par with like a full-size Bronco.
But it's not.
Raptor.
It's going to be small.
But I mean, I want it to have the same sort of capabilities of that, or even like a Jeep. I guess a Jeep is a little bit smaller.
This is like Jeep Compass size, probably.
But they could make it better than that. They get like a Land Rover does the smaller SUVs pretty well, so
right.
that they could actually just completely take them out at the knees as far as the Defender and all that stuff, and build something really cool there to totally smoke the Defender,
right.
which is a pretty capable vehicle.
Right.
But yeah, I like it. The other thing I heard about Mercedes doing is they're reversing course on the C63, where everybody, including me, making fun of them for doing a 4-cylinder turbo C63, which nobody wanted that.
Right.
No, even though it has their F1 inspired yada yada hybrid stuff, nobody wanted that. They wanted a muscly V8, and apparently coming back once again. Mercedes building things that people want, and they make money. Who'd have thought that you want to build cars people want to make money?
Right.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see these other automakers reversing course as far as like, okay, yeah, we're going to put Hemis or at least V8s back in Rams. Maybe we'll call them the Magnums.
Right.
The Charger, the Challenger, whatever it's going to be. Yeah, we'll probably find a way to put a V8 back in there. Never mind about this, this hurricane and electric crap. And then, of course, all the mandates going away from Trump repealing like the EV, goals set for the government, and the EV rebate going away, which is going to make the cars even more unaffordable.
That's going to be really rough and hit the market really hard. And I feel like EV sales are going to tank once again, which he's all buddy-buddy with Elon Musk, which is like the EV king.
Right.
And so I don't know how that conversation is going to happen. Like, that's not going to make Elon happy or any of these EV cars.
Elon says bring it on. He's been asked about it multiple times, and basically says, I welcome the competition, because he can cut the price out on these things and change the price whenever he wants, which most automakers don't do. So he says no rebates for anything like the electric cars stand on their own. Sort of the same with tariffs, which is a little crazy because China could come in and decimate with $20,000 fancy looking electric cars,
Sure. I mean, I think the big thing for this Baby G-Wagon, like you mentioned before, is it has to be off-road capable. And I feel like a lot of people don't even use those functions when you
the diff lockers, I feel like they're only used when you are selling the car to make sure they still work. And then you buy the car, you never use it. And then when you're selling the G-Wagon again, they ask if the diff lockers work. You have to make a video showing that they engage. Hopefully they do, because you never use them the whole years that you own the car.
But when you have an off-road vehicle, like, how much do you actually use it off-roading? Like, seriously, unless that's your big hobby.
I used the lockers on the Raptor to get the Bugatti out.
But no one else on earth would have that excuse to use it.
It didn't get the Bugatti out, now that I think about it. Because I had to use the Jurassic Park Jeep with the winch, and then we used the Raptor.
Right.
But actually, it got stuck, and I used the lockers to get... Anyway, that was a very odd situation in my front yard of pulling out a Bugatti out of my front yard.
Yeah, if this Baby G-Wagon would be able to pull your Bugatti out of the snow...
No, we're not doing that again. But
then it would be worth it.
It's about, having that capability, and it is really important.
Well, I mean, the ground clearance doesn't seem like it's going to be there, because it's going to be a lot shorter, a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to be an issue with these.
A Baby G squared, where it's like, he's so cute. Yeah.
You put on airbags and lift it even higher.
It'd be like my proportions, because I'm all legs, Anyway, yeah.
I think it's cool. I think it's fun. Is it going to be skewed towards girl buyers? And then do girls go off-roading as much?
I would love for Mercedes to do this. And they have not made as many mistakes as others, BMWs, making them cars that are absolutely hideous that nobody wants. At least their styling is still pretty
Right.
good in my opinion. BMW is like the only car that's good looking is like Jake's M2, or they
Yeah.
didn't do the whole buck teeth, and now they're kind of going backwards
They're
on
going
that.
back. They heard you.
How many years of people screaming about how hideous their cars are before they start paying attention and start changing it? That's the thing. It's just automakers doubling down on. You're getting instant feedback,
Right.
and the feedback is horrible for years, and they just double down and keep doing it, keep making these bad decisions, keep doing stupid things. With Stellantis, it makes sense because their parent company's in Europe, and Europe has these mandates, and they don't really understand or know what Americans want. But these other automakers, when they're making their mistakes, it's really interesting. Ford has talked about scaling back their EVs and changing things as well, and like their F-150 Lightning is now a $250 a month lease because nobody wants the electric Lightning because of its incapabilities. So it's an interesting new world, a new climate. I feel like politically is sort of letting these automakers say, okay, you know, we don't care about this EV save the planet crap anymore. You know, we just want to go back to making money.
Right.
Which, duh.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And we'll see if the G-Wagon makes that money. Thanks so much for watching.